the U.S. Supreme Court. As we know, with the passing of Antonin Scalia, it's now 4-4, essentially on the bench. So we now have a list of names. Sarah Murray, let me bring you in on who these potential justices could be. What do you know?
Well, hi, Brooke. So we're just getting this list. We're looking through it. Now, a couple of these are names that Donald Trump has floated before. When you look at Will Pryor and Dianne Sykes, these are both conservative justices that Trump has put out there, but there is a list of 11 names that we're digging through, and a number of these are names that have been floated by the Heritage Foundation before. Of course, this is a very conservative organization. And look, the reason that Donald Trump is putting these names out here, I think, is to send a signal to the rest of the party that they don't necessarily have to worry about him not being as conservative as they would like on some of these issues, especially at a time when he's trying to rally the party behind him. There were a number of questions from conservatives, especially some who were backers of Ted Cruz, about whether Trump really stands for conservative principles, for instance, where he stands on abortion. And I think by putting these names out, a number of which will be well known to conservatives, he's trying to allay some of those fears. But it is interesting as you look, at the list, when you look at Dianne Sykes, she's the wife of a prominent radio host in Wisconsin who was part of the Never Trump movement. So there are certainly some folks on here who may not be as amenable to Trump as you might imagine, or as amenable to a Trump presidency. But it's clear he's sort of mining the wells of options that would be favorable to Republican voters, and is willing to go beyond maybe people who have been very loyal to him during this process.
Which is extremely noteworthy, Sarah Murray. Thank you for pointing that out. Dana Bash, we just popped a microphone back on her because you were in the midst of it last week in Washington when, Donald Trump went to the Hill, met with House Speaker Paul Ryan, other members of Republican leadership, and part of your reporting was that a piece of that very key conversation had precisely to do with potential justices.
That's right. I was told after the meeting that Donald Trump specifically had with the House Republican leaders last Thursday, that during that meeting, he was pressed by the House Speaker and others about his commitment to picking and appointing conservative Supreme Court nominees. Now, the House technically and constitutionally doesn't have anything to do with nominating or confirming the Supreme Court, but this is a huge issue for the conservative grassroots. I was told after the meeting last week that Trump's response was, yes, you have my commitment, and I'm going to get you a list very soon.
This is follow-through.
And this is follow-up.
That's significant.
Follow-up, which is very, very significant on a whole host of levels. Number one, just process. He said, yes, I'm going to get you a list. And he got the list. But more importantly, and what I don't know yet because this is just happening, is whether or not he did, whether the House Republicans followed through and said, here are the names we like, and whether he incorporated that here. But most importantly, it's about what it symbolizes about how far Trump wants to go to convince conservatives. Many of them already knew because they voted for him in a lot of these states, but some of them who have been skeptical that he truly is one of them, considering the fact that, it wasn't that long ago that he said that he was pro-choice and liberal on several issues. This is him trying to prove to them he means it, he's conservative on one of the most important issues, the Supreme Court, which isn't hypothetical. It's real.
Right.
The next president, there is a vacancy.
Right.
So this is absolutely critical to conservatives.
We also know today he is sitting down with Henry Kissinger,
right,
presumably to talk maybe foreign policy ought to be a fly on that wall. So that's foreign policy. Who would Donald Trump be listening to other than perhaps Paul Ryan and members of the House on exactly how to select these names?
Sarah just mentioned